Alright, guys, welcome to another stream, another late night stream of mine here on board of UBOAT. So glad to have you with me. Yeah, I didn't stream UBOAT for I think 3 days or something. I did drop in a bit of Daisy, my, let me call it old love, but yeah, it's always a bit disappointing because for UBOAT, we usually have a nice little community together here in the streams, and yeah, well, obviously you guys don't quite share my love for Daisy. So let's get back to UBOAT, and looking forward to have you with me. We had just finished a mission, so we are here in the port of Bergen. But let me first show you or tell you where we are. What the situation is and what I am actually doing here. So, UBOAT, it's a submarine simulation, as you might have guessed. It's Second World War, and yeah, it's placed in a wonderful open world where you are pretty free to do just anything. I mean, in principle, it's pretty advisable to do those things which your senior officer is nicely simulated all over the globe in this game. And yeah, that's so wonderful. So I started the game more than 3 years ago in September 39 in Wilhelmshaven with the tiny Type 2 submarine, low range, low top speed, few torpedoes. Yeah, and so I pretty much loved that because back then, when I started this career, the Type 2 was just newly introduced into the game. So, pretty amazing that from then on we had 2 grown-up submarines completely simulated with all the interior. And yeah, so in the beginning I pretty much enjoyed to have the opportunity to play in this other submarine, but of course that small type quite has its limits. So it was a nice challenge, and well, we did quite alright with the small tiny Type 2. We earned our merits and finally got upgraded, became commander of a Type 7, and by now I am commanding a Type 7C, and we did a lot of missions, and we even did the overseas missions on the other side of the Atlantic because we got access to the milk cows, which actually give us the opportunity to refuel on the other side of the Atlantic. Otherwise, even the range of the Type 7 would not be sufficient to do missions at the American coast. Hey, weight loss, good evening, nice to have you in. So I hope that the stream is fairly okayish. Yeah, because although my internet connection seems to be perfectly fine, I get constant messages here of dropped frames and relatively low bandwidth. So I have no idea what the problem actually is. And yeah, I'm always thankful about feedback, whether it looks okay on your side or if there is any trouble. Yeah, my bandwidth, at least for the program or for the stream, seems to be pretty low. Although I checked, and yeah, my internet connection seems to be perfectly fine. So I had this weird effect before Well, let's just hope that it works. I think 1 or 2 weeks ago, actually, the connection became so bad that the stream was interrupted. But it was pretty weird because, yeah, my connection was perfectly fine. I don't know. So please, guys, just tell me when there is any problems, or maybe even tell me if everything's fine, which would be reassuring. So after I did these missions on the other side of the Atlantic, from the port of La Rochelle, I decided to relocate to Bergen in Norway, and now I am haunting the Arctic waters, and we did a first patrol, which, well, at least at the beginning it was pretty boring because we just didn't run into any enemy, but then we met one nice convoy which had relatively few guarding, so very few escorts, just 3 or something escort ships, and we could sink quite a few tons. So you see this 22,000 tons, we did them all in one patrol, which is fairly okayish, I would say. So guys, I would be very curious if you would just give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if the stream is fine for you, because on my smartphone here next to me it is kind of frozen. Can't get it running, so I hope it's better for you, but I just don't know. Hey, come on. That's too weird. Okay, I don't know. It doesn't work, does it? Mm-hmm. Alright guys, for whatever reason didn't work properly, but now it looks like it is working properly and I have a good streaming rate. Weird. So it kind of looks like that maybe you didn't hear me all the time. Is it like that you just, until a minute ago, you saw this, yeah, starting any minute sign? Oh shit, there I get the dropped frames again. That's, oh, come on. Come on. Yeah, well, okay, let's ignore that for now and see if we get the stream starting. Maybe it's better now. Hopefully. Yeah, as I said, always happy for feedback, be it good or bad. Guys, somebody please turn on the pump. And now first thing is we have to resupply the boat. Let's see what we get. We did fire quite a few torpedoes. Did we use coffee? I think we did. No, we didn't. But what about the situation with the torpedoes? 1, 2, 3. Well, all right. I think the stern torpedoes are completely empty. We fired them all. Yeah, we did. So I would be so happy if I would get some kind of information from you guys watching. Just a short remark whether the stream quality is okay for you or not. Okay, amazing. Looks like there is an enormous lag going on. Wow. Wow, guys. Guys. There is pretty weird things going on here, but yeah, come on, let's do it and let's see how it works. Let's get to the warehouse. And let's start with the items. That's fine. Then go for the torpedoes, T3 and T1. Yeah, I wouldn't like these because the pistol is pretty unreliable. These guys are perfectly fine. To put the sound seekers in the stern. That's this now, very important. Never forget to refuel. I once did that and that's pretty ugly. Now ammo. I didn't fire the deck gun. Did I fire the flag? I think I didn't on this mission. There was no airplanes. Now food. Okay, let's get the canned fish. That's the largest amount of stuff that we can get. And the equipment we urgently need. Replacement parts and the rest seems to be all right. So, yeah, budget is never a problem. Hey, nice to see that. This gives me at least the feeling that the stream is not completely wrecked. Hey, weight loss, nice to have you in. Yippee up, great to see you. I hope you're fine. I hope you had a good first half of the week. But as it is Wednesday night, we are even through more than half of the week, right? Yeah, all right. So, yeah, from my side, the week was alright. I did a little bit of DayZ streaming, although, yeah, well, meanwhile, I know pretty exactly that you guys are not the biggest fan of DayZ, which is perfectly fine. And this one here is my favorite anyway, just as well. So let's get the stuff on board. Yeah, job-wise, well, the 3 days of the week up to now, they were pretty alright. Yeah, it was just that some weird politics was going on at my job, which I don't quite like, but we will see. I think we can get this guy into his boundaries. Yeah, it's always a bit ugly if you have one of these, say, maniac alpha males around you. And yeah, you always need some strategy to handle these kind of guys. And that's what it is right now for me at work. Yeah, me and a few other guys, a few other reasonable guys. Yeah, so yeah, the day was alright. I had some presentation today again, and it was successful. So there was this decision board, and I presented a few changes to my project, and they were all, yeah, they all got a go from the decision board. So everything was alright. Now, we still have a bit of bread and 3 different types of food here, so this is something that we can perfectly be on the way with. So what about you, Yip Yap? What was your Wednesday like? Let's give it another save. We still have the prisoners. This is something that I used to forget. So let's go for the crew management. Free the survivors. This gives us additional money and additional respect, reputation. Hey, and that guy, Mr. Lindemann, he is still in the hospital with tuberculosis. Yeah, tuberculosis was not easily to be cured back then. What about the specializations? So I think I already addressed one of the specializations at the end of last stream. And my crew is all upgraded. So Mr. Strauss is level 3 by now. And Mr. Schultz is, level 2 by now. These are the 2 officers that I took on board instead of my seasoned officers to teach them the ropes, to have backup officers later who actually do not start from the scratch. Just in case. So, yeah, okay, that's my reflex to save. But now let's see. Let's see what mission we... Okay, several Arctic convoy missions. Okay, that one would be low difficulty. That one would be high difficulty, medium, and low. So come on, let's go for the high difficulty, which is east of the Faroe. This is the Faroe Islands, isn't it? Yeah, should be. So here we have the Orkneys, we don't see them. This is the Shetland Islands, and that should be Faroe. Hope I pronounce it correctly. So we are gonna do this one. Anticipated number of vessels in the area is small. Okay, that might be the reason why the difficulty is said to be, is said to be high. And as a reward, we would get 800 bucks and another mechanics officer engineer available. No any other special news about the area, so let's go for that. Here we are, ready for the next mission. Let's check the map. Oh well, maybe I should first delete these old waypoints. Yeah, I'm playing on almost maximum difficulty level, which is also part of that is that the enemy positions are not automatically given away on the map, but that you actually have to mark them by yourself and track them by dead reckoning. I quite like that challenge, actually. So here we go. Okay, let's start with smallest forward. One forward, and there we go. Time of the day is 8:30, so it's in the morning. And yeah, we even already have daylight so far here in the north, and it's still winter. Might still be pretty dark. Yeah, I hope so you get some decent stream quality, because I still get frequent messages here of frame drops. And here we are. Yeah, coming out of the port, out of the submarine pens, we are in the open sea right away, so we can go for halbe Fahrt, for cruise speed right away. Let's go for that. Mr. Schulz. Our bosun, yeah, we have 100% navigation correctness, as we just left port, so no reason to send Mr. Schulz to the map. Can do a bit of time acceleration. There we go. Yeah, here in shallow waters and that close to the shore, we can't go to maximum time acceleration. Yeah, the nice winter landscape Okay. Yes, we do. Change of watch. So now Mr. Arles takes over and he is caring for the engines. He's my first mechanic. He gets 2 additional crew hands. And then we are gonna use 30% less fuel because he and the 2 guys are able to meddle around with the valves of the engine and make them run much more efficiently. Pretty close to the shore. And there we already see the seabed. And this is such a beautiful animation, such a beautiful graphics of the situation. I love that so much. They do such a great job. The programmers, I mean.
Torpedorohr 5 gewartet.
Okay, now we can get higher time acceleration. Let's utilize it. And there we go. Next change of watch, and now our chief engineer is officer of the watch. Let's see, AC 4 o'clock and the sun has already set. Yeah, see, we still have quite some light, but the sun has already set at 4 o'clock. We are so far north and it's still winter, only late January. Yeah, I see the number of watches going up again. No names, you're completely anonymous. Just the amount of people going up. This magical number at the top right. So, glad to have you in, guys. Welcome. And yeah, comments are always welcome, but don't feel pushed. Just silently watch and lurk if you like to watch and lurk. I'm always happy having some watches, and of course even more happy if we can have a little chat. Yeah, we are pretty far into the war already. More than 3 years. And we are doing the Arctic convoy missions. So this is the second patrol that we do within the Arctic convoy missions, and the last one was pretty successful because finally we ran into a convoy of 10 or 12, maybe more, maybe even 15 ships with just an escort of 3, and that is pretty unusual. Meanwhile, it's like during the Black Pit campaign and the Operation Drumbeat campaign, it was like such a convoy was guarded by a chain of 10 escorts being one circle around, and it was so very hard to sneak into these convoys to get close enough to fire torpedoes. And for this one there, it was pretty easy again. So it looks like the Allies wouldn't expect U-boats operating that far north for whatever reason. On we go. Here it is 6 o'clock, and now Mr. Schultz is attending to the map. Navigation correctness has dropped to 70%, which is uncritical, but I like to keep it at close to 100%. Yeah, we have full moon. Is the moon already up? Point is that this makes quite a difference. There it is, and it sheds a lot of light on the sea when there is a dark night with no moon, maybe even clouded. Then it's so dark that you couldn't even launch an attack because you just wouldn't get the bearings and the data on your targets. But with the moon up, it makes a complete difference. And that's so nice about the game, that no attack is like the other, because there are so many things influencing your strategy, starting with the illumination, ending with the waves. So when you dive, it is, yeah, quite some difference. Whether you have a completely plain flat sea, then it's easy to apply the periscope, but on the other hand, the periscope is easily spotted by the enemy. Yeah, all these things you have to consider. On we go into the mission area. There we are. Let's man the radio with Mr. Strauss and let him send that report to the headquarters. Good thing to let this Mr. Strauss do, because he is not yet leveled out completely. My other radio officer, Mr. Hinrich, he is completely maxed out in terms of leveling and skills, so I couldn't let him do anything more. And yeah, we could even check that and see. Yeah, here you see that Mr. Strauss actually got 5 XP. That's not much, but a bit. Better than nothing, and now he can turn in again.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
He's off watch, actually. So, shall we do it like that? Let's go for a few more hours until we reach that turning point. There we go north. And let's do a hydrophone check. So now this is now a bit of a patience game. This is part of the realism of the game, that yeah, you don't have scripted missions or something, but you really have real convoys passing by certain paths which we don't know, and so we really have to search for them And the best way to search for them is doing a hydrophone check, which means that the crew brings the boat down to 50 meters in a standard workflow. Here you see all the off-watch guys running to the front compartment, giving additional diving ballast a 4. And here Mr. Schultz opening the valves to the ballast tanks. 2 guys have manned the depth charts, and the ballast tanks are being flooded now with seawater. First the fore ballast tank, and then the stern ballast tank. Now that is being done in an automatic workflow, which I quite like, because you don't really have to do all this micromanagement, which feels pretty realistically like being in command. You wouldn't have to tell the sailors just any single step, but they just would know what to do when you say hydrophone check. So now we are going down to 50 meters, and down there the crew is going to stop the engines, and we would just start listening for 5 minutes. And yeah, that's physics. Down here, underwater, sound propagates with enormous speed over enormous ranges. And so our hydrophone would actually recognize just any moving propeller in an enormous radius. It depends a bit on the weather, but 9 knots of wind speed is relatively quiet, so we should have, I think, more or less the maximum range of 90 nautical miles. Yep, that's the radius. So the crew now keeps the boat down at 50 meters for 5 minutes, and then brings the boat back to the surface. So now, within this circle, we should detect just any single moving propeller. By the way, allow me to be AFK just for a minute. And yeah, I just pause because I don't want to miss any contact. Alright, back again. Now let's see if we are gonna detect some potential prey. It's still in the middle of the night, 1:30. a.m. In game, I mean. in real life around here it's 12:30. Yeah, so the mission is finished even only if we travel 1,300 miles within the marked area, or if we sink 10,000 tons. It's an or, but of course I really would like to sink these 10,000 tons, because only then we progress in the overall mission. Hey, Beatbox! Nice to have you in, and thanks for the raid. Hi to you, and hi to the guys you brought with you. I hope you had a good first half of the week. How are you doing? How was your stream doing? What have you been doing in? Or where had you been diving into? Yep, always happy to have some guests in the stream from the Netherlands. Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just fine. I've been doing some DayZ streaming 2 days ago. It was Monday night, so I didn't stream on Sunday night. Only Monday I did a little bit of DayZ, which was not so well received by the audience. Just a few guys in the stream. Okay, the Das Boot, the series from, I don't know, what is it from? From 2015 or something? I'm not quite sure. I actually started to watch that series, but I don't know, somehow I just watched the first 2 or 3 parts, and it didn't quite catch me. I didn't quite dig it, I have to admit. Yeah, well, I mean, maybe it's perfectly fine. It's just maybe my own expectations weren't quite. Yeah, maybe I should just be patient and try to go on. How far did you already go in? How many of parts of the series have you been watching up to now? Maybe I should pick it up again. Yeah, maybe it's just like because my expectations were pretty much, yeah, from the movie, from the 80s movie. Yeah, okay. Yeah, that gives me some motivation to try it again. Yeah.
25 Meter.
So here we are, getting back to the surface. So what has happened? We have opened the valves to blow the tank, and compressed air was pushed into the tanks to get the seawater back out where it belongs, out of the boat into the open sea, and then the boat pops up like a cork to the surface. And here we are. Yeah, I think it is. It's a German production. Yeah. I should really maybe Over the weekend, I am on my own here because my wife and the kids are actually going for my wife's parents. I'm gonna stay here. I have to do a little bit of work for next week, but I might also have the opportunity to do a little bit of watching. Maybe I would put that one on my priority list. There we are, back to the surface, and we didn't get any contact. So let's give it a save. Better safe than sorry. And let's carry on.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Betrachten Sie es als erledigt, Herr Kaloin.
Mr. Schulz takes over the watch and is gonna attend to navigation correctness at the map. Very good. On we go. So here we are. Let's do another hydrophone check. That's what we are doing now. And yeah, on our last patrol it took quite a while until finally we found that beautiful, fairly unprotected convoy. Time of the day, 8 o'clock, pretty early. The valves have been opened, depth steers being manned, and the ballast tanks being flooded. Yeah, the crew, or off-watch crew, to the front compartment. Yeah, but independently of that maneuver, Mr. Schneider is continuously caring for the maintenance of the torpedoes. You can actually do this priority here, like here. This is the mechanic. Mr. Arles is my first mechanic. That's his priority. And Mr. Schneider, that's his priority. So Mr. Schneider has no engine duty, but yeah, he is mainly repair, of course, salvage repair parts if you can, and maintenance. I also have Mr. Arles put on 8 on maintenance, but the engines is a 9, has the higher priority. So standard is that Mr. Arles is caring for the engines and Mr. Schneider is caring for the maintenance of the torpedoes. And of course, in case of damage, all of them should have highest priority on that. And on loading torpedoes if necessary. Right now it is of course not. Isn't that nice? I very much like that graphics, that graphical implementation, how they do it.
Meter. Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloy?
No contacts yet. Fingers crossed that we find some enemies like that. Mr. Hinrich at the hydrophone. Why I still have dropped frames continuously. I really don't know why my connection is so bad, but at least I have the feeling that at the moment the stream is working alrighty.
Ich wünschte, wir hätten etwas Musik oder Ähnliches, um die Zeit zu vertreiben. Es ist hier unten ziemlich eintönig.
Yeah, I don't know. Might be that our daughter upstairs is still on the computer and is doing some downloading updates or playing Velo and kind of reducing the bandwidth of our internet connection. I don't know. So, as I said, I'm always happy if I get some feedback from you on the quality, either be it positive or negative. I can also well live with negative feedback, so if the quality of the stream is shitty, please just put it into the chat. But of course, if it's alright, I would also be very thankful for that information. Still diving. Yeah, we should be through the 5 minutes of hydrophone check soon, and there is still no contact around. What about the food? Wow, 70, yeah, that's alright. Discipline, yeah, we still have good discipline. We sent the guys to shore leave before the last patrol, so it's already something like 3 weeks ago that the crew was on shore leave, but 2 or 3 weeks and they still seem to be alright in terms of discipline. We go back to the surface. It's 8 o'clock, early morning, but we already had some daylight, we saw that.
Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf diese Motoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Yeah, beautiful.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
Kurs setzen.
Yeah, let's do another one. Let's Let's do another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Yeah, that's so nice. Each single crewmate is simulated. Mr. Weber, Mr. Rossmann manning the depth steers, Mr. Schulz again opening the valves. And here we go. Yeah, here you see the depth steers negative, getting us down.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
That's so great.
Meter.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Wird erledigt, Herr Körner.
Yeah, it's still only 10 knots of wind speed when you have an outrageous storm. When you have a raging storm up there, your detection range is considerably reduced from all the up there noise, the wind, the waves.
50 Meter.
Okay, the seabed is only 1,000 to 1,500 meters, so it's relatively shallow. But our hull would be completely crushed already at 300 meters. So if we got sunk, we would never reach the seabed here alive.
50 Meter. Meter.
Herr Kaloin?
And still no contacts. Yeah, these are the officers' bunks. Mr. Ahles, Mr. Schulz, Mr. Schneider, Mr. Hinrich are on off watch. Yeah, this is one other feature of the game. You always have to make sure that your officers are fit for duty, and this is their fitness bars. They go to something like 10%, they have to turn in, have to sleep, and are not available anymore for a little while. No any contacts around. What a pity. And there we get back to the surface. Unblasen. It means blow the tanks. Yeah, I was in acceleration, time acceleration, so that was pretty fast. Hey, look at that. How beautiful that is, how the bow cuts through the waves and the spray is going up high. Yeah, it's 3 o'clock and that, do you see? The sun is just about to vanish at 3 o'clock or 3:15. So in 15 minutes it's gone. And there it is gone, and it's just 3:20.
Torpedorohr 4 gewartet.
Let's do another hydrophone check.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Alright, let them do the check. I'll be back in a minute.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Meter. 40 Meter. 50 Meter. 45 Meter.
Hey guys, did we get anything? Any contact? No, not yet. Yep, I see the number of people watching has been going up a bit. It's a pleasure to have you. So, yeah, there is my little speech, which I used to do now and then. I'm very glad to have you in. You're completely anonymous, and lurking and watching silently is perfectly fine, but you can always make a little streamer like me a little bit more happy by just giving me a high or thumbs up in the chat. So we are just about doing a hydrophone check again. And yeah, let's see what we get at the moment. It's a bit of a patience thingy again. But on the last mission it actually paid off. So after quite a few unsuccessful hydrophone checks, we finally ran into a beautiful, nice, large convoy with relatively low escorts. Yeah, come on, let's keep fingers crossed, but at the moment, I think we are almost through the 5 minutes, probably. 5 minutes of the hydrophone check. Yeah, double names. The crew hand's name is Strauss, and the officer's name, or the petty officer's name, is Strauss just as well. I'm just thinking about whether I ever ran into a guy called Strauss in my life. I don't think so. Something like 40 years ago, there was a German politician whose name was Strauss. He was from Bavaria. And the Bavarians were the biggest fans of that guy, and the rest of Germany was very skeptical. But yeah, well, I should stick to my principle, no politics, but maybe talking about a politician who died more than 30 years ago should be alright, without pissing off anybody in his or her personal opportunities. Here we are, hydrophone checking, but still nothing. No any contact in that enormous range. By the way, the wind speed has been increasing to 13 knots by now. Let's see if this already affects the range. Yeah, it does. Hydrophone range is down to 75 miles radius. Yeah, due to the troubled water up there.
Meter.
Torpedobohr 2 gewartet.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Schneider, for your restless caring for the torpedoes. And there we are, back to the surface in the pitch black night. Let's carry on our duty.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloy.
Natürlich, Herr Kaloy. Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloy.
Ich benötige etwas Unterstützung.
One more hydrophone check.
50 Meter.
So what happens again? Off-watch crew. See how nicely they swing through the hatches to run for the front compartment. Mr. Schultz coming back here, opening the valves. Opening the valves means the ballast tanks being flooded. There we see the water streaming in. All these details are so nicely modeled. Graphically nicely modeled, and also physics-wise graphically nicely modeled. For ballast tank and stern ballast tank, and down we go. There, meanwhile, we have a bit of water in the bilge. Yeah, just 12 liters, that's as good as nothing. That's what just happens over time. Also one of these nicely realistic features that just over time you have water seeping in. When you're on the surface, the water comes in whenever there is a change of watch through the main hatch, particularly in bad weather. And when you dive, you have water seeping constantly through your gaskets without having a major leak. And the deeper you go, the more you have some constant little leak rate. Hey, Aqua Icing, how are you doing?
50 Meter.
Nice to have you in. How was your Wednesday? How was your first half of the week? I'm always curious about any story.
45 Meter.
And here we are down here doing another hydrophone check.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Betrachten Sie es als erledigt, Herr Kaloin.
Yeah, sending another guy, another crewmate to support the hydrophone checker increases the range a little bit. Okay, yeah, see the wind speed has been going down back to 7 knots. So our range is 90 miles by now. Okay, snowstorm, yeah. So what is it then? Do you stay at home then? In Germany, we had a snow chaos being predicted for Monday. And at least in the north, they actually closed down schools for the safety of the children. And yeah, there was a chaos with the railway. So around here we are not pretty much used to cold temperatures. And yeah, a lot of people were a bit surprised that a temperature of just -5 degrees already results in a breakdown of the train connections. Okay, yeah, they do that as well. But I think if you say it's a snowstorm, it's probably a little bit tougher than what we experienced here. Actually, around here at my place, it was uncritical anyway. So the only good thing was that on Monday, I had a completely clear road. So after all that talk of bad weather and freezing and snow over the weekend, there must have been many people doing home office. And so on Monday, I had the world record in getting to work and getting back from work in 45 minutes, which is really very short time for me. Yeah, even in the morning I was pretty early, maybe before the rush hour, but in the afternoon I went right into the usual rush hour, and it was perfectly fine. So they should do these reports all the time. People stay at home and I have a clear road to work.
Herr Kapitän?
Come on, still no contacts. Yeah, so aqua-icing. I hope everything is alright for you. I mean, having some supplies at home and yeah, this winter, or yeah, before Christmas, we were still seriously thinking about spending our summer holidays in Canada. I might have mentioned that one uncle of my wife actually lives in Quebec, pretty much downtown, actually. And we never visited him there yet, but yeah, I have the problem that I can't get more than 2 weeks in a row off at my job
35 Meter.
this summer. And yeah, for 2 weeks, it's just not worth the while, and it costs a lot to get over there.
15 Meter.
So in 4 weeks, we are going for skiing, and this is also already so expensive, so we
Herr Kaloi, wir sind
couldn't really
aufgetaucht.
afford another expensive summer holiday this year. There we are, back to the surface, and no hydrophone
Kurs setzen.
contact. Yeah, let's carry on. Let's carry on.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloi.
Hydrophone check every 6 hours. That somehow makes sense. Let's do another one.
Tauchen auf 50 Meter.
Again. Off-watch crew running to the fore compartment. Depth steers being manned and the valves being opened. There we go. I don't know, it looks like maybe the stream is a bit more stable by now and I get a bit more bandwidth.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
There we are, back to the surface. Time 7:50. So we should get some daylight already by now. But no contacts.
80 Meter.
No contacts.
50 Meter.
Yeah, down to 50 meters, turn off the engines and just listen.
Meter.
What about discipline? Yeah, 99%. So whenever we are back to the surface, we are regaining discipline. No fatigue. No fatigue yet.
Meter.
Wow, look at the wind speed up there. Now we really have a raging storm of 20 knots of wind speed. And this considerably reduces our hydrophone range to a radius of just a bit more than 40 miles. If you consider that at good weather we get a detection radius of 90 miles, it's double. Come on, would be so great if we found some contact. Hey, Colin. Welcome in the stream. Pleasure to have you in. Greetings to Scotland. Yeah, actually, up to now, I never ran into hunter-killer groups up here. I had been doing a lot of hydrophone checking in the last mission, and I just didn't run into any contact except for that beautiful convoy which had minimum escort. was something like 10 to 15 merchantmen with just 3 escort ships. And that was pretty comfortable, of course. By the way, Colin, how are you doing? How was your first half of the week?
20 Meter.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
2 days ago I did a little bit of DayZ. I pretty much love the game, but I guess that most of the community of the U-Boat fans are not that much fan of DayZ. I see that there's not many people watching. And so I guess that also it's not quite your business. Nevertheless, now and then I quite like to do a little bit of DayZ streaming. Yeah, the sun must be coming up over there in something like an hour. Let's get on. 10 o'clock.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Jawohl, Herr Kaloi.
Fedoror 4
Lunchtime. Yeah, we are going more or less due north, so at lunchtime the sun should be quite in the south, but yeah, we do have a partly clouded sky, so no sun to be visible. Another 2 hours, and there will be the change of watch again.
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Ich benötige hier etwas Unterstützung.
Yeah, come on, one more
Tauchen auf.
hydrophone check.
50 Meter.
Fedoror 5 gewartet.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter.
Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Yeah, if I remember right, you do have a few areas in Scotland where you could actually do skiing in the winter, right? But it's still relatively warm, isn't it? So you don't have loads of snow there. Have you?
Meter.
Yeah, I spent one winter in Edinburgh and it was just rainy. I think we didn't have any snow in that winter.
50 Meter.
Yeah, actually over Christmas I went back home for 2 weeks. So I have to admit that I missed Christmas in Edinburgh and I missed Hogmanay in Edinburgh. But yeah, all the rest I was there and I remember
Aktuelle
that
Tiefe 45 Meter.
the winter months were just relatively rainy and I think we didn't have any snow. Or at least no snow which actually remained.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Jawohl, ich bin am Start. 50 Meter.
Okay, guys, one more AFK. Be back in a minute. So please keep a look at that and tell me if there were any contacts.
Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 75 Grad.
Still no contacts, and we are already 1/3 through the travel range that we should do in that mission, and still not a single contact. Wow, alright. Almost missed that. Well, there is a convoy up there. Let's give it a mark. And call it Convoy 01. Finally, we got that one.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
Wow, that's an enormously large convoy. Estimation from the hydrophone contact is that it is 24 to 51 units. That's amazing. That's an amazingly large convoy. If it is really like that. Of course, there is always this fog of war and uncertainty. And this is also one of the features that the programmers do perfectly fine in the game. Making everything a bit uncertain. So you get information, but you never quite know how precise it is. And later it might turn out that it is, well, different. There we go, back to the surface, and now the hunt is gonna start. Let's give it a save at that point. great. We have the contact and it seems to be a big convoy. Let's go for them.
40 Meter.
Kurs setzen.
Of course, yeah, estimation would be that they are going east, aren't they?
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Wird erledigt, Herr Kaloi. Aktuelle Tiefe 20 Meter.
So, Mr. Arles, it's your off watch, but I want to have you managing the engines anyway. You get additional support from the crew hands, and now please, guys, give everything, get everything out of the engines that we can get. Flank speed to the north, and now let's do a little bit of dead reckoning. If we assume that this guy is just a standard convoy, it would go with something like 8 miles. 8 knots, 8 miles per hour. And I would assume that it's a convoy which is going east to support the Russians in their fight against the Germans. And what about us? We should be going with something like 17 miles per hour. So scenario is we go for 1 hour, then we should be there and they should be there by our dead reckoning. But well, this is only a guess. They might be on that radius just anywhere because we don't know the direction. So after 1 hour we are gonna do another hydrophone check and get a second data point to finally gain the info of what their direction is, what their speed is, at least a guesstimation. So now it's 6:10, and we are going to go for 1 hour till 7:10. Yeah, the sea is pretty flat. Speed is quite fluctuating. And we are sailing into the night. So that was now exactly 1 hour. And it's dark. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock in the evening. And now please give me another hydrophone check. And now we should get a second data point on their position, which at least should give us a rough estimation of their course. Let's see which are the quadrants that we can AE, AF. Okay, it's perfectly fine. So if we sink them in this quadrant, it would definitely count for. It would definitely count for the it would definitely count for the Arctic convoys. Hey guys, shit. What is this? Ah yeah, okay. Great guys, you are going for the hydrophone check. And now let's get another of their position. Yeah, okay, Aberdeenshire is in the very east, right? So I think the further you go to the west, the warmer you have it. I mean, the more moisture you have, the more humid the climate is, but the warmer it actually is. And to the east it gets colder, does it? Okay, amazing, amazing. Up there on the eastern coast, Aberdeenshire.
45 Meter.
I've been once to Aberdeen. I found the city pretty impressive, but also a bit, well, don't hate me for that, but I found it was a bit depressing because of all that dark grey stone that the whole town is built out of. And we didn't have the best weather when we went to Aberdeen back then. So the whole impression was a little bit, depressing actually. Yeah. Now, that's an estimation of the second data point, which would mean that they are just moving with 5 knots, and this is unrealistic. But at least it gives us a rough estimation of their course. So we're going to continue that, and let's finish the hydrophone check. You never know, there might be other contacts around. Get back to the surface, go for another 1 hour, and then do another hydrophone check to confirm their course. Yeah, the convoys are actually zigzagging by now. I mean, not this kind of small scale wiggling that they do when they are feeling that they're under attack by a submarine, but that large scale zigzagging of something like, going half an hour this direction, then turning the course for 90 degrees, going half an hour in the other direction. I observed that definitely for the last convoy that I was going for. And this makes it pretty difficult to actually go for them. When they are just following one course on the large scale, you could figure out that course by the hydrophone, then get close, and you have the perfect perfect figures for your attack, like angle and bow and everything. But when they regularly change course, even if it is only reproducibly 90 degrees every half an hour, it still makes things much more difficult to get your bearings, get your torpedoes homed. Hey, I just see that there is loads of people watching on YouTube. Hey guys. I know that the YouTube watchers are naturally not as talkative as the people watching on Twitch, but still I would like to motivate you to give some comments in the chat or make yourself visible. I don't see you, I just see the numbers, so you're completely anonymous, and it's perfectly fine if you just watch and lurk. And I'm always happy to just see people watching what I do. But of course, you could make a little streamer like me a little bit more happy by giving me a few contacts, comments. Don't hesitate. Doing some backseat driving, that's perfectly fine for me. I'm playing the game since quite a while, but I don't know everything, and I'm always learning. And I have been learning a lot by the audience of the stream. And yeah, still, the Twitch guys, are pretty talkative. But the YouTube
25 Meter.
people are not quite like, yeah, Colin.
5 Meter.
It's great to have you at least on YouTube.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloi, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Now one more hour. Let's give it one more hour. And see what their position would be then. Flying speed. Here we are.
Tauchen auf
So
50 Meter.
give me one more hydrophone check. And let's confirm their course. Yeah, confirm it or not, just give us more certainty about what their course actually is. Yeah, the moon is still almost full, but it's
Aktuelle Tiefe
decreasing.
5 Meter.
E-Motoren wechseln.
There we go down.
...25 Meter.
Schraubengeräusche.
Mhm.
Peilung 345 Grad.
And that's them for sure.
40 Meter.
Okay. Another data point.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
So 2 hours, 12 knots. It still confirms that they are going very slow with just 6 knots, but I still can't believe that the convoy is that slow.
45 Meter.
Yeah, let's finish the hydrophone check again. Get back to the surface and continue the chase. Looks like they're going on a course something like northeast.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
Wow, wow, wow. So many people watching on YouTube. Great to have you in, guys. But still, in terms of comments, hey, YouTube guys, please show the Twitch guys that you can also do some comments, that you're also interactive, that you're also talkative. Colin, from you, I know you are communicative, and I really love to have a little chat with you. So it would be great if there would be more people on YouTube with your mindset. Yeah, and even if it were you guys from Twitch actually also tuning in on YouTube, I would be curious on that information. Yeah, it wouldn't be cheating. Everything's perfectly fine. I'm not doing this for the money. I'm just happy about feedback. And even if you would just passively watch and lurk, it's already some nice feedback because you're in the stream. So thank you guys. Thanks to all of you guys watching. Yeah, we are just about finishing the hydrophone check. Just 22 liters of water in the bilge, which is completely uncritical. Should be a few more minutes and we get back to the surface and continue the chase of that convoy, which seems to be an enormously large one. Yeah, the Granite City, yep. And I remember back then when we came to Aberdeen, it was so grey. It was grey weather and it was grey stones. So can't even remember where we stayed back then. But yeah, sorry guys for all of you guys from Aberdeen, but yeah, I do have Aberdeen stored away as a very dark grey city. Yeah, I know that Aberdeen was, in the past, it was quite some important harbor for international trade. And probably even today it is an important harbor for the supply of the oil rigs, I guess, isn't it? I would guess that Aberdeen is one major base for all the supply ships is supplying the North Sea oil rigs, right?
Aktuelle Tiefe 40 Meter.
Yeah, getting back to the surface.
Jawohl, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Now back to the surface, and let's keep on going. Another 17 miles in 1 hour. It's 8:30. Let's get to 9:30 and then get another data point on their position. Alright. 1 hour, 1 more hour. And give me another hydrophone check on these guys.
Meter. Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe. Peilung 350 Grad. 25 Meter.
Right.
Ich erwarte Ihre Befehle.
There we are.
Aktuelle Tiefe 45 Meter.
Yeah, the course. Sorry. The course looks pretty consistent actually.
60 Meter.
But they seem to be moving very slow. Sorry, they seem to be moving very slow then. Yeah, just something like 6 miles per hour.
45 Meter.
And if I give it an extrapolation, we are getting some very smooth course like that.
Aktuelle Tiefe 50 Meter.
So if we would now go 1 hour, 2 hour, and them going 1 hour, 2 hour, 3 hour, okay, so that should be alright to go like that to intercept them. Hey, I'm so flattered to have so many people watching on YouTube. Thanks, guys. Great to have all of you in. Of course, a follow or subscription would be welcome. But having you just watching is just as fine. Yeah, let's just regularly finish the dive.
Hey, kann mir jemand ein gutes Buch empfehlen? Ich habe all meine Bücher schon zweimal gelesen.
Galley? Yeah, still alright. And what about the discipline? Still 99%. So, yeah, all the situation is perfectly fine.
Wie lauten Ihre Befehle, Herr Kaloin?
That's them. Okay, allow me to be AFK for 1 minute. So if you might see some contacts before getting back to the surface, please just keep it in mind and tell me. Be back in a minute.
Anblasen.
Meter.
Aktuelle Tiefe 20 Meter. Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Torpedorohr 1 gewartet.
Alright, so we are back to the surface. Yeah, important fishing port. Yeah, probably it was about the, how do you call that type of fish? Herring. The herring, right? So there was a lot of herring fishing around the north of Scotland. And I think there were shipbuilders in Aberdeen, weren't there? I think I've read that some pretty fast and famous clipper ships were actually done in Aberdeen. Hey, what about the Cutty Sark? Wasn't it like that the Cutty Sark was actually built in Aberdeen? I think it somehow rings a bell. You know that ship which is still in London, in Greenwich Dry Dock? I think it burned down some years ago, but they kind of reconstructed it. Yeah, I wouldn't bet my farm on it, but I think I read something about this famous ship was built in Aberdeen. It was definitely built in Scotland, because otherwise it wouldn't have been named Cutty Sark. I remember that, well, Cutty Sark is kind of a reference to a poem of help me, please. Your national that poem, Tam O'Shanter. Yeah, I could imagine that if you have the sun shining on that city, that it really gets alive. Hey, it was Robert Burns, right? Tam O'Shanter and that ship, Cutty Sark, which is still alive in London. My guess is that it was built in Aberdeen. Yeah, the name Cutty Sark, it refers to one part of that poem where Tam O'Shanter, on his drunk ride back home, he's being chased by a witch. And I think in the poem she was described to be just wearing a cutty sark, a short shirt, and that was the origin of that name of the ship. Nani was the name of that witch, wasn't it?
Kurs auf diese Koordinaten setzen.
Hey, sorry guys, but I have to say that I'm just trying to remember. It was something like when Chapman Billies leave the street and draughty neighbors meet. When folk begins to take the gate and market day is wearing late, then we sit bowsing at the nappy and feeling faux and unco happy. And now I am a bit lost. And then there is something about the sullen dame at home, gathering her brows like gathering storm, nursing her wrath to keep it warm, because you're drinking with your pals and not coming back home, something like that. It was in that poem. But I don't get it together anymore. Yeah, please excuse me for definitely not properly pronouncing it. But, well, still, I could say of myself that once I cooked a haggis with a friend of mine. So I bought half a sheep from a farmer not too far ago back then, and got all that stuff that you need, the stomach and everything. And so really from scratch we were cooking some haggis, and it was great actually. I mean, the procedure of preparation was pretty weird, but finally the result was amazing when you actually did cut the stomach up, and that nice smell was kind of distributing in the room. That was amazing. How nice it finally was. It's 10 to 10. So let's keep on going. For 1 hour, which means going for 10 to 11. Yeah, this is actually kind of strategic now. So we went for 1 hour. And they, yeah, just having to do dead reckoning. So they must be there right now. But I wouldn't do any hydrophone check right now. Let's go for 1 more hour. And maybe do the hydrophone check then to confirm their position. Go to 10 to 12. Almost midnight. So he should be there by now. Let's do another hydrophone check and see if my figures are correct. So, yeah, sorry, Colin. I hope I didn't insult your Scottish mind by quoting Robert Burns with my fucking German accent.
Aktuelle Tiefe 5 Meter. E-Motoren wechseln.
Schraubengeräusche. Große Gruppe.
There we are.
315 Grad.
There we are.
Meter.
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich.
I would say my dead reckoning is not that bad. So, seems like the convoy is there,
40 Meter.
which means that in 2 hours he was going like that. And that's also great about that game. The editing on the map is so comfortable, so you really can do your figures on the map. So if you look at that from that point to that point, 2 hours. So yeah, it is going. The convoy is actually going with 7 knots and not just with 6 knots. Let's assume that.
45 Meter.
So after 1 more hour, he should be there and me should be there. Us should be there. Been apart for 8 miles, still well out of range. And it's still in the middle of the night, so no risk of being spotted. Let's continue.
50 Meter.
Let's continue the hydrophone check, just in case. Yeah, we are out of the original area of patrol, but that just doesn't matter. If we sink the guys within these quadrants, it would still count for the Arctic convoy's overall mission. Hey, yeah, it's so long ago. I would love to get back to Scotland. It's so long ago that I had been there. And even that holiday that I spent there with my wife on the Shetlands, it's already quite some time ago. And yeah, it's really time. It's really time for me to get back there. I pretty much love your country.
Meine Schwester mag keine Petersilie. Jedes Mal, wenn unsere Mutter Suppe mit Petersilie macht, zieht sie komische Grimassen.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't quite
Aber es lässt
know
sich
where
zu Hause.
Alloway or Ayrshire is, but if I remember right, Robert Burns was originating more from the southern Scotland, right from the lowlands, I guess. But hey, I don't know. I'm not quite sure. That's just kind of rudimentary memories, which might be completely wrong, but I thought he was more from South Scotland.
Anblasen.
There we go. Back to the surface. Continuing our final approach.
Meter.
Now let's go for one more hour
20 Meter.
and see where we end up.
Auf Dieselmotoren wechseln.
Herr Kaloy, wir sind aufgetaucht.
Now extrapolating the course. Yeah, let's do another hour of going on.
Kurs setzen.
Yeah, and it's complete darkness still. Yeah, alright, so that should be fine. Let's get in front of that convoy and hope that it is not well guarded. Now one more hydrophone check to finally confirm their position should be somewhere around here. And see if we're right with that, and then we are gonna do the final approach on them. What about the moon? There it is, still shedding plenty of light.
5 Meter. Auf E-Motoren wechseln.
Yeah, the moon is... This is west. Yeah, we still have a few hours of moonlight, I would say.
Peilung 260 Grad.
25 Meter.
Okay, southwest of Glasgow. I would say that is pretty far south in Scotland, yeah. Yeah, alright.
45 Meter. Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen. Natürlich, Herr Kaloy.
Okay, yeah. So my dead reckoning is not 100% precise. But it's fairly okay.
45 Meter.
Meter.
Yeah, again, let's finish the hydrophone check. You never know if you might find some other contacts which are interesting. Yeah, Dumfries. Yeah, yeah. That's a long time ago, 18th century. Imagine that. I mean, imagine you were doing things and people would remember it 200 years later. That would be great, wouldn't it?
Ich könnte etwas Hilfe gebrauchen.
Jawohl, ich kümmere mich darum.
Okay, see, he died pretty early, like a rock star. So why did he die, actually? Was it because of drinking or drugs, like a rock star? What was actually the age when Jimi Hendrix or Janis Joplin died? They were in their 20s, weren't they?
Anblasen.
There we go, back to the surface. Alright guys, so it's getting late around here. 2:30 actually, local time. I mean real life time. And yeah, at least we figured out the course and position of that convoy. So tomorrow we should be well able to wreak havoc amongst that convoy. I'm definitely gonna do another stream tomorrow. So let's see what we can do with that one.
Kurs setzen.
Let's keep that course. No surprises. And yeah, aqua icing. Great that you're still there. It's a pleasure. Same for you. Have a good night. I think we should be something like 5 hours apart, right? So if it's 2 o'clock around here, should be something like 9 o'clock around your place. 9 o'clock in the evening or 9:30 would be my guess. Or 8:30, something like that. Yeah, we're 8:30, okay, yeah, alright. So 6 hours of time difference, actually. Yep. Alright, guys, so Colin, thanks for joining. So you kept up philosophy for the YouTube guys. Nevertheless, all of you guys on YouTube, although only Colin actually participated in the chat, it's great that you were in. I would be happy if you dropped in again. I'm definitely gonna stream for tomorrow, the day after tomorrow. And yeah, see you guys. Aqua icing, have a good night. Weight loss, I'm not sure. Maybe you're still there. Have a good night, Beatbox. If you are still there, same for you. Good night, Yip Yap. You were in the stream. Not sure if you're still there. If you're, glad to have had you in. And